Guys, welcome back to HPL. Seems like we've got these issues all sorted out. Kranich is able to get back online and make sure he can get into game number 2 here. I am your host, Nathan. That's Admiral Zamora, joined with the Tanny Grace. And wow, Greensheep came out absolutely firing in game 1. But Kranich able to stifle the pressure, get control of the board, and punish Greensheep for not killing out Nat Vag.
Yeah, absolutely love the deck choice from Kranich here. Would love to see him queue it up again at least one time in this match. It seems like a great matchup against anything that Greensheep is going to bring to the table.
Yeah, and we don't know exactly what he's going to bring to the table. Again, I think this is one of the first positions he's been in where he has the chance to throw a curveball. You know, his teammate Kranich is going to be one of the guys who knows him inside and out better than anyone. And the fact that he was, pretty much targeted in this first game, this is really his opportunity to branch out, maybe punish Kranich for being a little bit predictable and thinking that he's going to play something that's just relentlessly aggressive, as he has always done in the past.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance that we see Greensheep move onto a Warlock deck. We saw him do this in one of his prior matches, but it's still aggressive while being mid-range and late game. You could play a lot of the demon-centric Warlock decks and still have really aggressive draws and good late-game draws. And if you don't know what your opponent's queuing up, it seems like a pretty good choice against somebody like Kranich.
Yeah, in HPL so far, actually 2 of his only wins prior to this match were with Druid and with Warlock in terms of his game wins. So, both those strategies working out pretty well for him. Maybe he goes for one of those. Druid, I would kind of want to stray away from, given how aggressive Greensheep has been. If they don't get rolling very early or have something like Wrath and to Keeper of the Grove, they can get absolutely run over in those games. So I'd like to see him stray away from Druid, but I think Warlock could be right up his alley.
Yeah, Warlock's definitely in the realm of possibilities here. Druid, I agree with you, not so much, but it sounds like these players are almost ready. They're making the last couple changes to their decks. They're getting ready. Now we have Kranich up 1-0 over Greensheep, just to remind you where we are in this match. And again, we're going to see if Greensheep continues the aggression here.
Yeah, it needs to turn this match around quickly. I would hate to see him fall to 0-2 again for his 3rd consecutive match in a row. I mean, that's just not the position you want to be fighting from.
Maybe that is the position you want to be fighting from.
That's not a very strong strategy if that's exactly what his game plan is. But yeah, it needs to be putting wins on the board early, and it's just something he hasn't been able to do. I mean, why hasn't he been able to put these wins on the board early? Is he getting targeted early in the match and then just, continuing to push through and saying, you know what, my aggressive strategies are better than what you're trying to disrupt me with?
Yeah, sometimes you just beat your head against the wall, and it doesn't always work. That wall doesn't give away very much. But, Greensheep, you see him remain aggressive in every match. And, he has been getting wins, but that is the essence of aggro. You're going to punish every poor draw that you play against, even if they're playing good decks against you. So maybe that's just his strategy. He's going to punish all the poor draws in HPL and then win some close games and squeak it out that way.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it is a numbers game. So if you're getting the better side of that, over the long term, you will be the one winning more games than your opponents. Now, the caveat to that is if you do get targeted, those strategies really can run you over. Something like an early Armor Smith coupled with a Cruel Taskmaster, or even something, just as simple as like a Haunted Creeper that's focused on getting into the mid game can, stretch the things out and get everything done. But game 2 is ready. Finally, we've solved these problems. Kranich versus Greensheep is getting underway.
Oh, it looks like Kranich is going to be playing a rogue deck, and already there's a Shadow Step in this deck. Do you think this is more like a miracle deck? Do you think we're going to see Leroy Jenkins out of Kranich again?
Oh, well, this is kind of weird. I mean, he's got Argent Squire in this opening hand, too. I mean, this actually may be something that's kind of like an ode to the Backspace Rogue deck that was popularized, way back when Leroy Jenkins was still 4 mana. And sort of the thinking behind that deck is you just wanted to punish your opponent as quickly and as early as possible. So something like Argent Squire coupled with Cold Blood, and then towards the middle range of the game, you had Arcane Golems in there, you had Leroy Jenkins. Your intention was just to Shadow Step those and push through as much damage as you can. It's anyone's guess at this point. I mean, with an Argent Squire in his hand, I have to assume that this is aggressive.
Yeah, it's going to be aggressive. And speaking of aggressive, Greensheep is playing the Tempo Mage deck. It could come out to some really aggressive draws, and we have seen some amazingly aggressive draws.
Wow, and there's
the Cold Blood.
This opening hand could be disaster for Greensheep. This is turn 1 Argent Squire, turn 2 Leper Gnome Cold Blood. So much damage is going to be getting dealt here. I mean, this is, we talked about him targeting strategies. One of the ways that you can beat aggression is to just be more aggressive. I mean, that is a very viable option here, and Greensheep is not going to be happy to see this hand come into effect.
Yeah, speaking of aggressive, Leper Gnome into Cold Blood on my Argent Squire is quite aggressive and quite good. Greensheep didn't have a great turn 1 play against his Ardent Squire when he had just Clockwork Gnome in his hand, but his draw for the turn was Man Worm. That was a pretty good pickup.
5 to the dome on turn 2. This could spell a lot of trouble for Greensheep. Does have a lot of tools in his hand to start fighting back against something like this, but now every single turn that he invested into killing a minion, that leaves Kranich 1 step ahead. So if any time that he could draw some pressure to couple with that, could spell disaster for Greensheep.
Yeah, Greensheep is falling behind here early, but you got to believe that if he could just take his time, make sure he doesn't die right away in these games, he's going to be able to come back from this Flame Waker is going to be able to do a lot of work here later.
Yeah, something that's super important is that the Frostbolt will freeze it even through the Divine Shield. So that's a very big pickup for him. And so Kranich, at this point, his aggression has been stifled, but I still expect there to be a lot of charge damage in this deck. You know, stuff like Wolf Rider, stuff like Arcane Golem, and then, of course, always more poisons, just ways to consistently deal damage to the board. This may be a build that doesn't even have something like Backstab in it.
Yeah, you might see something like like South Sea Deckhand in this deck as well. Some very, very aggressive minions.
This is a very big turn here. I mean, there's a 25% chance this does not kill the Argent Squire.
Gonna be a huge play here. There we go. The first one gets there. You got to feel good about that one.
Yeah, that's got to be a big sigh of relief for Greensheep. If that went unchecked, 5 more damage could have been absolutely disastrous. There's that Arcane Golem. Not a guarantee that this is going to come out this turn. I mean, this could be a spot where Kranich continues to bide his time, wait for a Blade Flurry to kind of sweep something out here, and then utilize the Arcane Golem later. With what he's seen so far, I don't suspect that Kranich is anticipating any, taunt minions coming out of this deck. Maybe something like Mirror Entity, but in the meantime, just going to continue to push for damage here. Deadly Poison, and then start swinging for the dome.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to deal 3 to Greensheep here. That's pretty aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those spots where it's really just a matter of how well you can race versus your opponent. The Counterspell in Greensheep, this is the second time in a row that we've seen him play this tempo deck and have Counterspell in it.
Yeah, and I felt like it really lost him the game in his first match with this deck. He drew it really early, kind of like he has in this game. Got to get it in play in a turn where he didn't really need his mana, but it never did anything in the match.
Yeah, I mean, this is a spot where Kranich has really got his back against the wall. The extra Frostbolt here, keeping him from potentially attacking anything he wants to. I mean, Blade Flurry is where he wants to be in this spot, but now that he's picked up the Tinker Sharp Sword Oil, this could kind of go both ways.
Yeah, I think last turn I would have rather have seen him just attack the Flame Waker for 1 to get a damage on it, and then re-up his dagger, and then pass. So this turn he could have put the Deadly Poison on it, attack Greensheep, and then Blade Flurry after that. He would have been in a very similar situation, but he would have cleared a lot of minions off the board. We see that he got frozen, so he would be able to get in the extra 3 damage this turn, but it still would have been a fine spot.
Yeah, just using Sap here to try to relieve any amount of pressure that he can. Sap is kind of a weird card in this matchup because, typically with this aggressive rogue deck, Sap ends up being very well versus stuff like Sludge Belcher to make sure that you can continue to push for damage and throw off your opponent's curve. But in this matchup in particular against Greensheep, I don't expect him to be defensive at all. There's a possibility that Sap almost could have been cut from this build.
Yeah, and Greensheep is being severely aggressive. He's already got Kranich down to 13. And he's got, an Arcane Intellect and a Flame Cannon behind this, so he's got some tools to win the game from here pretty easily if Kranich doesn't do something about this Flame Waker.
Yeah, Shiv actually, very important pickup at this stage of the game. He's going to be able to Blade Flurry and clear this board
SI
out.
Agent is pretty good too.
Yeah, I mean, it could potentially be very good in the future, but he's got to look for a way to actually apply enough pressure to Greensheep that he can end this game. And right now, with what he has in his hand, a dangerous amount of potential adding up here. Something like a Shadow Step I think would be perfect for this, but in the meantime, just going to Blade Flurry, try to keep things under control. Greensheep has no pressure to follow this up.
Greensheep has no pressure. He needs to draw something pretty good here. This Counterspell not going to do anything here. Ooh, Fireball is a good one. That is almost half of Kranich's life total.
Yeah, I mean, and picking up a minion here is so important too. Even Water Elemental in this deck, so looking for a resilient turn 4. I mean, Piloted Shredder is a great play on turn 4, but Water Elemental is kind of in the same vein. It's a very difficult minion to check going forward, so we'll have to see exactly how Kranich wants to play this turn because Greensheep's got a secret out, and I'm thinking in Kranich's mind that means something like a Mirror Entity.
Yeah, it might be Mirror Entity. You don't know. Greensheep, he's been a little wild with his secrets here in these matches, just like Kranich is a little bit, off the wall, a little less conventional. So it's hard to play around these players that have such a wide range in all their cards.
Yeah, something that's really crazy about this too is how important this Mirror Entity actually is, if this is Mirror Entity, because this is a turn where Kranich can play Arcane Golem and Tinker Sharp Sword Oil and then make the big push here. That's exactly what he's going to do, but the fact that wow, it's actually, okay, I was like, this is actually not Mirror Entity? Okay, so now he's in a spot where, he's thinking about how he moves this going forward. I have to believe this is going to be an SI7 agent to clear this out and then push for damage.
Yeah, he has to kill the Arcane Golem here on the other side, otherwise he would have been dead to the Fireball and Hero Power next turn.
Yeah, I think Kranich actually needs to drop Blade Flurry in this spot unless Greensheep decides to pick off some of these minions. He needs to get the Tinker Sharp Sword Oil damage in, and at the same time, needs to not die to the pressure that Greensheep can have. And against a class like Mage, just a couple burn spells can end it.
Yeah, Arcane Missile is not the best here. It's not going to finish off this game, and it's a little unpredictable in this spot. But Greensheep has some pretty good plays here in this turn. He can move his Mad Scientist into Arcane Golem, use Flame Cannon to take out the SI7 agent, and then develop Water Elemental and do some extra damage to Kranich here if he wants.
Yeah, how much pressure is Greensheep worried about, though?
I mean, he might think he needs to get a counterspell in play as well. There's a chance that happens.
Yeah, he's got to go for the board development.
Yeah, I think he just has to go for this board
Actually,
development.
no other secrets in the deck here, by the way. So Greensheep has got 1 copy of Mirror Entity and 1 copy of Counterspell, and that's it.
Yeah, it's pretty unfortunate that he drew the counterspell, just like we talked about yesterday. Just, you know, not the greatest to draw in these middle of the games. You want to get it out and get a lot of, Cold Light Oracle.
That could be really, really interesting at this point. I mean, this is one of the critical cards of this strategy, too, is that you're going to be, again, a little bit more reckless with what you give to your opponent, and the trade-off for that is that you're looking to end the game, you know, before your opponent can restabilize that board position. So the Shadow Step, the option to use that on the Cold Light Oracle, maybe pick up some more cards, but it looks to me like he's just going to push for damage and re-up his dagger.
Yeah, he's going to re-up his dagger here now. Greensheep got to be feeling like he's a little in trouble now. He has the Fireball. He could just draw the other one at any point in time in this game. But that's not it. Oh, Mirror Image, such a huge, huge draw. He's going to get to play a lot of free and cheap spells here this turn.
Yeah.
That was such a great apprentice here.
Arcane Missiles, hopefully, gets
just
the right
a perfect
shots.
one.
Yeah, why not? I mean, he's got Counterspell to back this up. He's got Mirror Image to keep him safe from potential minions.
You can even Unstable Portal here this turn if he wants as well. Yeah. Everything's coming up Greensheep here in this turn.
Yeah, Cold Light Oracle backfiring here quite a bit, but you know, it's something he's got to go for in that spot. He can't just sit around and wait forever for the right cards to come. He's got to make something happen.
Oh, Ancient of Lord can gain 5 life here if he wants and put this game way out of range of Kranich being able to top deck here. It's going to be really interesting to see, and I think he has to go for that.
Yeah, that is a huge draw right now. I mean, 5 extra health against a deck that is being as aggressive as it possibly can be to try to close this game out is a massive pickup from that Unstable Portal.
Yeah, that all but nullifies a lot of the outs that Kranich had to possibly win the game this turn, and you know what? It doesn't look like he's going to have enough, barring just a huge Tinker Sharpshot Oil Blade Flurry combo. I don't see him getting out of this.
Yeah, I mean, what can he even draw off this shit? I mean, I guess he could pick up like maybe a Cold Light Oracle or something, but even Counterspell is just going to shut that down. Yeah, no action here from Kranich. That's going to be enough damage to end the game. Greensheep's going to tie it up.
Yeah, Greensheep's going to tie it up here at 1. What a great Unstable Portal pickup for him there. Ancient of Lore, perfect pickup. He actually didn't end up needing the extra 5 life, but it was very welcome at the time. Puts him, and he draws the extra fireball.
Just why not?
Yeah, just why not? You know he's gonna fireball him twice. Obviously, he's gonna do this to his teammate.
A little bit more gamesmanship coming in here, but Kranich, you know, once again continues to show off his style and showing that his range is extremely wide in these scenarios. I don't dislike his choice in this match, but once again, the story seems to be that he's playing strategies that are not quite as refined as what his opponents have been doing, and he's been getting punished for that.
Yeah, you see the little bit, you know, strange deck choice. It's like we talked about at the start of the match. He's going to bring a deck that's not conventional and have a lot of moving pieces in it, and they don't always work together. You saw him draw his cards a little out of order there. The Cold Light Oracle, you know, didn't really get him back into the game like it really needed to, and then he just got punished by an aggressive, streamlined deck from Greensheep.
Yeah, so Greensheep continuing to do what Greensheep continues to do, which is push the action and look to be a little more aggressive. And something that was interesting in that game was he had to actually kind of move into the control role for a little bit there, but Flamewaker was more than enough to pick up the pieces and make sure that he could push Kranich out of the game, and then that Unstable Portal picking up the Ancient Allure, completely out of range of anything Kranich could throw at him in that one. So we've got our series all tied up, 1 game apiece here now.
Yeah, I'm just excited about this. I just want this to go to a full 5 games. The series is great, and as you said, you saw Greensheep move into a control role there. I fully expect that to happen in a lot of games against Kranich by every player with any deck they're playing with, unless it's just a pure Face Hunter deck, because you're not sure what he's doing. He's playing things like Nat Pagel. Like, you don't know his full range on the cards. It's the full range of Hearthstone. He is really embracing the HPL format. He can play everything at any time.
Yeah, you can head over to pvplive.net and check out exactly what he's played in the past and see how creative Kranich can get in those situations, guys. When we come back, it's tied up at 1 game apiece. One of these guys is going to be taking a lead in this series. Don't go anywhere. Game 3 is coming right up. You're watching Hearthstone on PvP Live.